All right, let's jump into this first story from Timcast.com. Tulsi Gabbard quits Democratic Party citing wokeness and anti-white racism, calls the party existential threat to America, and urges other party members to join her. That's the gist of the story. She gave a speech saying, nonetheless, I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party. It's now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms enshrined in our Constitution, and who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police, who protect criminals at the expense of the law. Well, that's good news as far as I'm concerned, but I do think she should have come out and stated this a long time ago.
Absolutely, right? I mean, finally, welcome to the nightmare that the overwhelming majority of us have been living for quite some time, probably on steroids since 2016. So, I don't know, a little too late, I don't know, but I do believe that it is indicative of what will happen to the Democrat Party. I think more and more you would see a lot of people, sane, reasonable people who are waking up to the reality of how the left has taken over the Democrat Party.
This is one of the craziest things that I've been hearing a lot of behind the scenes. Something's been happening recently where people are snapping and there's like mass red pilling going on. I'm hearing stories of from friends, and this is not like celebrities or famous people, just like, hey, my friend was all of a sudden one day just came to me and said that, what's going on with war? What's going on with World War III? Joe Biden's doing all of this. And people are going from in the dark to red pill just very, very quickly. And I wonder if a lot of it is when the news says nuclear war may be coming, you start to pay attention. And then when you do, you go, hey, wait a minute, this Biden guy's actually really bad.
I don't know if it's nuclear war. I think it's gas prices. I think it's food shortages.
That's a good point.
I think it's those things. For a lot of people, I live in a very woke, quote unquote, kind of area right outside of Philadelphia, the third largest county in the state of Pennsylvania, the second wealthiest county in the state of Pennsylvania. These people are very woke. But however, when you look at a lot of these people are beginning to take that red pill, they're watching what happened to their children. I think education is going to be a really big issue for a lot of those suburban moms.
I was thinking that COVID, the lockdowns or the shutdowns rather, and then the riots that didn't have much of a military response or police response was kind of an opening. But I think you're right that it's gas prices.
I think it's gas prices.
Yeah, I think, my perspective is like, why would a young person and then, obviously the war that's probably my personal bias. You bring up gas prices and I'm like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. Some minimum wage skateboarder guy who's trying to get enough gas mustered up to go to the skate park is probably saying, what the is going on? Yeah. And then he's looking it up and being like, why did Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline? You got to guess.
I personally think it's the Great Reset. I personally think it's the Build Back Better agenda, which coalesces into all of these things when it comes to not only actively being a warmonger, but also destroying the economy, which I think is being done deliberately here. But to go back into this topic, it does seem like the Democratic establishment party is a sinking ship. They're expected to lose a lot of seats in this upcoming election. And if we remember, Tulsi Gabbard, she was seen as a rising star a few years ago until she questioned the Syrian war, until she actually said, hey, maybe we shouldn't be warmongers, maybe we shouldn't do regime change, maybe we shouldn't be financing ISIS and Al-Qaeda inside of the Middle East and launching a war on terror, which of course is being financed by our own money. And when she pushed back against a lot of the war policies, that's when the bigger attacks against her happened by her own party.
Sort of. It was really when she came out against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That was when the machine went like,
don't do that.
Yeah.
But she was, again, she was the first combat veteran female running for president of the United States. You would think just basically on those merits, the Democratic Party would lose their mind and overwhelmingly go support her. No, absolutely not. They didn't believe in her. They questioned her. They called her a Russian asset. Right. They criticized her every step of the way because she dared to say, hey, all these lies, all these bigger banker bailouts, all the ways that you're being screwed over in America is not okay, and I'm going to stand up against it. She did successfully. Her smackdown of Kamala Harris is absolutely epic, and she has done a lot of good when it came to pushing the Overton window, starting conversations and debates, even though she was anti-gun, endorsed Joe Biden and the World Economic Forum.
Anti-nuclear power.
And the World Economic Forum even liked her so much that they put her up as representatives. Now she, of course, along with the eye patch guy, Dan Crenshaw, say that they were put on there without their kind of consent. But regardless, still, the World Economic Forum said, hey, this is a good person we like, we want to promote.
She endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, look, how are you going to come out and say the party's been taken over by a cabal of warmongers when you endorsed one of the principal warmongers? Don't tell me Tulsi didn't know about what Joe Biden was doing in the early 2010s with the Iraq War. Mm-hmm. His brother's getting these lucrative contracts. There's no way she is unaware of what Hunter Biden was accused of doing with the laptop stuff. So I can respect if, behind the scenes, she's trying to be tactful and try and still remain in the Democratic Party to try and bring people into it who might actually be sane and cognizant of what's going on. But I kind of just feel like it's 2022. We're 2 months out, not barely, from just about 2 months out from 2023. And Tulsi's coming out saying, I'm quitting the Democratic Party. And it's just like, if you came out in October of 2020 and said all of this exact same stuff, like, I will not endorse a warmonger like Joe Biden, we may have gotten Donald Trump. And we would not be at war right now.
Yeah. And she's also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, which should spark up a lot of eyebrows. But there's a lot of other scuttlebutt behind the scenes talking about her potentially joining Donald Trump, her potentially joining DeSantis and running with them for these upcoming presidential elections. So there's a lot of scuttlebutt about her positioning herself to be more politically relevant and be able to run on a party ticket that would galvanize a lot of the working class people, because at the end of the day, even though, World Economic Forum endorsed, CFR member endorsed Joe Biden, anti-gun, she still does talk about a lot of important issues that do push the Overton window, that do start conversations that I think are important.
All right, I'm going to say this. Everybody deserves to evolve. Even, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, he supported defunding police. Today, he says it's a losing idea and it's a bad idea, and he's right. And I commend him for realizing the mistake he made previously and now coming out and saying, you know what, defund the police is a bad idea. I still think it's important to point out Tulsi Gabbard was very, very wrong in 2020. In this article from NBC News, and Tulsi Gabbard ends presidential run, endorses Biden. She said, it's clear that Democratic primary voters have chosen Vice President Joe Biden to be the person who will take on President Trump in the general election. I'm confident that he will lead our country guided by the spirit of aloha, respect, and compassion, and thus help heal the divisiveness that has been tearing our country apart. In her announcement, she noted that she'll continue her military service. But anyway, to go back to that quote, she was wrong. Joe Biden has in that speech where he came out and called MAGA Republicans an existential threat to this country, did the exact opposite. So this is just Tulsi being very, very, very wrong. And if she came out back then and said Joe Biden is divisive, Joe Biden is a threat to this country, and we should not be supporting him, she wouldn't even have to come out and endorse Trump. She can just be like, I will not endorse a man who was vice president to an administration that blew up children in the Middle East. And for what reason? Couldn't tell you. War, empire, regime change. She'd probably just say regime change, but respectable. Instead, she actually, and this blew my mind, endorsed Joe Biden while campaigning on ending regime change war. It's like, what do you think the Obama administration was doing with Joe Biden there as vice president?
And now here we are closer to war than ever. Sorry, go ahead.
No. But that's what's expected, right? Once you are not going to win a particular race, then the party expects you to just line up and do as you're told. Just take one for the team. And a lot of people do that without of just doing what others expect them to do. I find it to be very inauthentic. And authenticity was, a huge part of. It was something that I was very intentional about at the very beginning of my race, is to remain true to those values that brought me into the Republican Party when I was a junior in college from the Democrat Party, to be authentic to those values that would cause me to want to run in the first place, because I earnestly believe we're about to lose our country. I don't believe that that's hyperbole. I believe things have gone very wrong, and we need something very different. So for her to come out and support Joe Biden in 2020, that is what is expected of people. And, you know, and to be completely honest, that's what plastic politicians do. You get dragged through the mud, but then once it's all over, everyone expects you to shut up, line up, do as you're told, and just go on. But I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about, you know, the fact that, you know, that she's a woman, she's this, she's that, she checks off all the boxes. The Democrat Party should have been in love with her. That only works if you also follow the narrative. But if you have your own mind, your own thoughts, and your own opinion, I don't care how many boxes you check off. I mean, look at me. I'm black. I'm a woman. I grew up dirt poor on a pig farm in southern Alabama underneath a rock. You would think the Democrat Party would be like, we love her. You would think the Republican establishment would be like, praise the Lord. Now we have a fighting chance to stoke some enthusiasm in our party. But if you don't follow the narrative and the script, it doesn't matter how many boxes you check off. They don't want to have anything to do with you.
Put it simply, if you're not a controlled puppet, you're not going to get any play and support by the establishment. But I also wanted
on either side.
I wanted to ask you
Hollywood,
what
permeates.
your understanding of politics. Do you think this move is highlighting maybe something bigger, maybe a bigger move between a potential 2024 run? Do you think something's happening behind the scenes? What do you think Tulsi is doing here?
No one does anything in this industry because it's the right thing to do. If you think people in this industry do things because it's the right thing to do, solely because it's the right thing to do, that's not how this works.
Yeah, I don't want to call it a publicity stunt, but she coincided this announcement with the announcement of her new show, the Tulsi Gabbard show, and
on
an episode.
Fox? Is it on Fox?
I'm not sure.
I think it's on YouTube.
And an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast that she just went on. I just saw an ad for that today. So this was very planned. That she's probably been thinking about this for a long time.
But she has been taking, you know, little red pills after little red pills after little red pills for some time now, right? Now, I don't believe. Now, a lot of Republicans, we get excited when people throw us little bones. You know, oh, look, she's moving to our side. So I never thought she was a conservative or really a Republican, but I have seen over some period of time of her taking these little red pills. And so now she finally took enough of them where she's saying, I'm leaving the Democrat Party. I think that's going to be endemic of what we see happen across a lot of, you know, those particular communities where Democrats have taken people for granted, their vote for granted. Other than the black community, I think the black community would probably be the very last people to come off the Democrat plantation. I think you're going to see more and more Hispanics leave the Democrat Party. I think we're already experiencing that.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.